everybody, it's Kelsee Briana J here with the long-awaited video of me reviewing and doing some eye looks using the new Natasha Denona Glam eyeshadow palette. And you all have been asking me my thoughts on this palette. I got a little bit behind with my schedule. I do apologize, but I have it here and we're doing the review today. It's going down, baby. So this palette was the newest launch by Natasha Denona. There's a lot of buzz around this palette. This one is a smaller but large palette. If you guys may recall, when Natasha Denona first came out, she had large eyeshadows in her eyeshadow palettes, the 2.5 grams per eyeshadow type things. But now she's made them a little bit smaller, and the prices of her large palettes have decreased because the eyeshadow pans are smaller, but they're still in the large size palette. So this one retails for $65. It has 19.25 grams of products, or 0.65 ounces of products, and this is the unicarton. Here we go. Hard plastic, very sturdy. It says Natasha Denona Glam palette, very sleek and minimalistic. And then on the inside you have a large mirror as per usual, and here are the eyeshadows. Okay, so let me read you guys the description of this palette. It says that this is an everyday palette that creates super dramatic smoky eyes, as well as a variety of natural and extreme glam looks. Okay, extreme glam. It says this palette includes shades named after the ideal place to apply them, helping you recreate glam makeup looks. It's as if you have special insider makeup tips from Natasha Denona herself when you apply these shades. And we will talk about that a little bit later on in the video. But right now, let's just look at this palette. Let's just focus on the colors and the eyeshadow types, okay? So we have shimmers, we have mattes. As you all can see, it's more so of a cool toned eyeshadow palette. We have everything we need to do a complete look, as well as a few different eye looks. And that is what I'm going to be doing today in this video. So starting out right now, I'm going to show you all how to do this eye look, and then stay tuned and I will show you all how to do 2 more eye looks using this eyeshadow palette. And of course, we're gonna have to talk about my final thoughts about this palette at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. Let's go ahead and jump into swatches, and I hope that you all enjoy this video. So I already have on my eye primer, and I'm going to take a fluffy blending brush and the shade Blend. I'm going to take this shade as my transition color and not the shade Transition. This is a beautiful light brown transition shade that I'm going to take back and forth above my crease to help blend out the rest of the look. So back and forth. Okay? Like so. Now I'm going to take a little bit of smoke with the same brush. These are smooth and pigmented. Let's come down just a little bit and pop that directly in the crease. So back and forth. It looks good. With the same brush, I'm going to pick up this shimmery shade that's labeled for the outer eyelid and apply it on the outer eyelid. Most of the time I do this step with the matte eyeshadow, but you can switch it up and use a shimmer on the outer corner as well. So I'm just packing this color on using the flat side of the brush and then bringing it up towards the crease, and voila. Now I'm going to take the Rephr 02 and this center eyelid shade. And I am going to pack this all on the center of my lid and then blend it next to the outer corner color and blend it up towards the crease. And this is just applying so smoothly. I barely have to put in any effort to get this to apply and pop. I think that looks really nice. Beautiful. Now I'm taking a Royal Inlay Nickel BL-M50 and this brow bone shade, and I'm going to use that as my inner tear duct highlight just a little bit because I'm not feeling like the super blinged out inner corner highlight. I just want a little bit of pop, just a little bit of pop. And I'm going to wrap it around and apply it on the lower inner corner. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of the crease shade and blow that out along the rest of the lower lash line and connect it to the top. That eye look is gorgeous. I'm going to go ahead and add my liner and lashes, and I'll be right back. So here's my finished look using the Glam palette. Okay guys, here's another eye look using the Glam palette. And I wanted to use the golden hues, that way you all can see that you can create a little bit of a warmer toned eye look using this cool toned palette. So first I'm going to dip into transition and let's see what this does. So I'm going to take this in my crease. This is an almost whitish ash color. It's a little bit too cool toned to go in my crease. If you have a darker complexion than me, or even if you're my same complexion, I would recommend using this as a lid shade. Next, I'm going to dip into blend with a fluffy brush as well and apply this right up underneath it to add a little bit of warmth so it doesn't look as stark in my crease. So now with a flat shader brush, I'm going to take the center eyelid shade and pop that on. It's a really nice golden color and just kind of blend it all across the center of the lid. Next, I'm going to take this inner corner color, pop it, and on the rest, I'm going to take this shade that is intended for the outer eyelid and take that all the way across, like so. So here's the finished soft golden eye look. I didn't add lashes, I just wanted to keep it soft and show you the versatility of this palette. Alright you guys, so let's get into the next look that I did, which is a nice smoky top liner look, and I'll show you all how to do it. Let's go. So I'm going to start off with blend, because blend is really just my perfect transition shade out of this entire palette. There's not another color that I would use in this palette as my transition shade, so pretty much this is what I'm starting with. Almost every time. Flat shader, and I'm going to take the shade Lash Line, and I am going to smoke this out, baby, on that lash line, and I'm going to bring it up into a V. So I'm going to take it in my crease and literally do an outer V and smoke this out on my lash line and just take my time with that. I actually am going to go in with this pencil brush and just really diffuse and take my time with it and really smoke this out like a fox. Then I'm just going to go back in and blend it out. I'm going to go in with a little bit of the crease shade and just lightly hover above this just to further blend it out. I want this to be nice and just hazy. Let's go in with this center eyelid shade. Let's take that here and here. Let's get into smoke. I'm going to take that across the rest of the lower lash line. Make sure to smoke it out and connect it to the top. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. A nice little quick, smoky, sultry eye, but it's not really truly smoky. It's like a day type smoky eye, so it gives you that sultriness, but not with all the intensity that a super pitch black or very deep smoky eye is going to give you. It's that nice crossover where it's like you can go from the office to having cocktails or whatever you want to do after you get off. But I like this look, and I think these eyeshadows pair really well together. So there you go. All right, my loves, so we have done 3 different eye looks using this palette. Now let's talk about my final thoughts about everything, and let's start off with the formulation. Let me tell y'all something, okay? Natasha Denona put her foot in this palette, because as far as the formulation goes, this one is one of my favorites that she has ever done. Every single eyeshadow is smooth. I got minimal fallout. The blendability was insanely amazing. Everything was super pigmented, but not so much so to where it's difficult to work with. I honestly think she has perfected her formulation, and I hope this is where she's going to live, because as you all know, Natasha Denona is prone to changing up her formula. I think she just likes to experiment to see what's going to work and what's modern and what she thinks is going to help people do their makeup faster and with more ease. But Natasha, if you by any chance get to see my video, this formula is it. Stay here. This is it. It works on a pro level if you wanted to put this in your kit, as well as on an everyday level for the people who are not professional makeup artists. This palette is very easy to use and easy to navigate. even without looking at the names, which let's talk about that, all right? Because I know that there's been a lot of controversy around the names that she chose to name these eyeshadows, and in my personal opinion, I think she messed up. I don't think that she did it with malicious intent, because Natasha Denona has gained popularity from the internet. You have people like myself who have been avid supporters of her from the beginning. I don't think that she intentionally tried to leave me out, because I can't use these colors as transition and crease colors. I personally can't. So if I can't wear that, then you're leaving out a whole lot of people who have a deeper skin tone than me, okay? I do feel like in her mind, she was thinking she was gonna help people who don't know what to do with their eyeshadow palettes, because there are a lot of shades in here. But when you do stuff like that, you have to keep in mind everybody's complexion. Now, I do think that she had a nice save. She did. She said, well, you can pop it out and you can rearrange them as you see fit. But Natasha, we know that that wasn't what you were thinking at first, but that was a clever save, okay? You tried, but it just wasn't enough because people were already offended. But if you're going to actually name the placement of the eyeshadows, you're gonna have to take a page out of Sydney Grace's book and create different palettes with the tones varying in the richness of them to where it suits a wider range of people. However, there are colors in here that will work for deeper complexions. It is a nice cool toned palette. So if you like cool tones, this is a great one. This is one of the best ones that I've used thus far. I did pull out a few other palettes for comparison because I know that you all are going to have questions. So the first one that I want to compare it to is the Mini Glam eyeshadow palette, which this is the first time that I've seen Natasha Denona create a larger eyeshadow palette off of the smaller eyeshadow palette. Typically, she has the larger eyeshadow palette first, and then she creates the variation of the smaller eyeshadow palette, but this time it was reversed. Here is the Mini Glam eyeshadow palette, and I think these palettes are perfect sisters. They work very well with one another. You can mix and match these eyeshadows and create different looks. I do think that it's worth getting the larger Glam eyeshadow palette even if you already have the Mini Glam eyeshadow palette, because the larger Glam eyeshadow palette is the fully fleshed out idea of the Glam palette. You're definitely going to be able to do way more looks with the larger Glam palette than you are the smaller Glam palette, but I think that both of them are gorgeous. I think that there's enough of a differing factor here to have both of these products in your collection, especially if you like cool toned eyeshadows. I pulled out the Mini Retro palette to compare, and I think the Mini Retro palette leans a little bit more pink and cool tone than neutral and cool toned like the Glam palette does. So I personally prefer the Glam palette, but I can see her coming out with a large retro eyeshadow palette next just because she doesn't have one, and I think this one did relatively good, but I would say that this one is even more so geared towards lighter complexions than the Glam eyeshadow palette is. I have the Mini Nude eyeshadow palette for you all here, and I definitely think the Mini Nude eyeshadow palette leans just a touch more warm in tone than the Glam palette does. It definitely lacks that cool toned vibe, but I love this eyeshadow palette. It is the perfect everyday eyeshadow palette for me, and I think that I can create beautiful everyday cool toned eyeshadow looks using the Glam palette, but for me, I naturally tend to create more dramatic looks when I'm using cool toned eyeshadows. And lastly, I pulled the Anastasia Beverly Hills Sultry palette. I think this palette is somewhat similar to the Glam palette, but I think that the Sultry palette has a little bit more pop and the colors are just a bit more vivid than the Glam palette, which I think these colors are a little bit more subdued. So I think that both of them are beautiful. You're going to be able to get similar eye looks, but I think that the metallics in the Sultry palette are a little bit more vivid, as well as the matte eyeshadows have just a little bit more pop and depth. And I think that if you are going back and forth between the two and you like cool tones and you have a deeper complexion, I would say the Sultry eyeshadow palette is just a little bit more deep skin friendly because the matte eyeshadows aren't as cool toned as the matte eyeshadows in the Glam palette. I think the matte eyeshadows in the Sultry palette have just a hint of warmth to them, so it's not truly a cool toned palette. Versus the Glam palette, all of these shades are neutral cool, but you can use them, but they're not going to be as rich in tone as the Sultry eyeshadow palette is. But I think this is a beautiful palette and it is very versatile. I just think the names really gave a negative impression with a lot of people, and I hate that because, like I said, this is one of her best formulations yet. So let me know your thoughts on the palette. Did you all get a chance to check it out? Are you interested in it? Sound off down in the comment section, and I will check you all in my very next video, which will be super soon. Smooches. Bye.